Hey there, and welcome to today's video. For today's video, we're actually going to be doing a video that I needed to split into two parts because it was just way too long to build, and that's because it's a mansion. Anytime I've ever built a mansion in The Sims, it's always taken me a lot longer than I ever expected to. I think in my mind, I'm always like, oh, it might take around 3, maybe 4 hours. How about more like 6 or 7? So for today's video, we're going to start building a mansion that I built with the last week of October's free trial of Get Famous. Now with Get Famous, they did something very similar to what they did recently with Eco Lifestyle, where they gave access to everyone for free for the weekend. I believe it started quite late on the Thursday and it ran until early Monday morning. So basically, you had the whole weekend where you were able to use this pack for completely free. Though, if you ask me, having it on Halloween weekend, it just begs the question of why it wasn't something like vampires, for example. I would like to think it's because Get Famous is a bit of an older pack, but they just did Eco Lifestyle, which is one of the newer packs. So that question kind of hangs in the balance, but hey, I'm not the one making the decisions here. So for this mansion, I actually started building the back of it before the front of it. I looked through Google and I found this one picture that I've been putting here as a reference. And I tried my best to recreate that and have the mansion go off of that. I rather liked the look of the mansion itself and the colors they were going for, especially since I knew what was already in this pack, and I knew I wanted to make this over the top, and I felt like this mansion kind of fit what I was going for. I originally wanted to expand on the fake mansion that I built not too long ago, but I felt that that mansion wasn't really fitting what I was going for with this one. I knew that I wanted a lot of marble. For example, I wanted very manicured, let's say outdoor spaces, even though at the end, and you'll get to see it next week, I wasn't actually able to do all of the landscaping. It was limited time, and as I said, it was Halloween weekend. There were other things going on. It's a limited time pack. I did my best in the time I had. Did not expect it to take this long. But anyways, the whole outside was based off of just this one picture, and I only had what the back of it looked, not what the front of it. But interestingly enough, whenever you go to the world view, you don't see the front of the house on this one, you see the back of the house. So I think when you place it down, it actually looks quite nice, just because I made it with the back of the house initially in mind, and that's what you actually see from the world view. Mind you, it's not that I skimped on the front or anything, it's just that the front was more of an afterthought compared to the back of it for sure. I did want to do a more elaborate front as well, but I think this house was deeper than it was wider. I ended up having quite a bit of space to the sides, but not as much as I expected on the front of the house. But even with that, I think the front actually ended up being quite nice, especially with how it's all gated off. I rather enjoyed that. I think it gives it that mansion feel that I was looking for. And I didn't really bother with making driveways on this one because this is a one lot where the driveway is just for this house anyways. So I kind of felt like that's the game already given me the driveway, and instead of making another one, it wouldn't have really made sense. So on top of the limited time that we were getting this pack for, so the limited time that I had to build it, the fact that I wanted to make it a mansion and base it off of this one picture, I also wanted to try to make it over 1 million. There is a challenge of building houses that are over 1 million in The Sims, and Get Famous is one of those packs that is not necessarily a must-have, but it definitely makes this challenge a lot easier. There's things like golden toilets, golden sinks, golden showers, there's golden everything. So it basically just makes it a bit easier, I won't deny that. I think one of the bathrooms itself costs 40,000. And with that, I mean, you just get more bathrooms in the house, basically. Admittedly, once everything was said and done, I did actually go over budget. I believe it ended up being somewhere around 1,040,000. So realistically, if you wanted it to be right at the million, you could just get rid of one of the bathrooms. And I think that'll about do it. When I first started, I originally wanted to even get some debug landscaping or just debug items in general. I know there's a lot of really fun ones in Get Famous, but that really was not going to happen. So all the items that you actually do see are completely from the Build By catalog. You don't need to have any debug items, there's no CC, there's nothing except base game and Get Famous items. Now this lot in particular had really weird lighting. And I mean really weird. It was a matter that I kept having to switch back and forth from morning to afternoon to evening just to even see where I was actually placing stuff. I know that newer packs have different lighting and all that because they've been able to revamp the worlds a bit as they've gone on with the years. But out of all the lots in base game, that there are quite a few frustrating ones because of the lighting. It might be a bit dark or whatnot. For once, I would have to say that I think I prefer that over having such bright lighting that I can't even see the grid. Either way, I made do, and I was able to place everything where I wanted to. I don't think there were any items that were particularly out of place, since something that I was really going for on this one was symmetry. Just because that's the way the picture looked like the whole mansion itself was going to look. I don't know what it looked like on the front, I don't know what it looked like on the inside, so basically everything else was just making it up as I go, basically. Now, I only take this video up until I start painting the outside, so we won't see anything of the inside yet. But something else I want to make note of on the outside was how many roof pieces it took to actually get this roof to look the way I wanted it to. I was originally making it to be just a regular roof, I guess, with regular roof pieces instead of 4 million roof pieces, since I figured that would about fit what I wanted with this house. But as I got started, I quickly realized that it wasn't going to be impossible, it was going to be difficult for sure, but it just wasn't giving me quite the look that I wanted it to give me. So what I did instead was, as I mentioned, I used probably a million roof pieces to basically outline the whole outside of the roof. And to give it the flat roof with it that I wanted it to have, I ended up just using a platform. Now here's where it gets a bit tricky with Sims because you have roof tiles and you can't place that as flooring. So even if you have flat sections on your roof, for example, you can't quite match the color properly. So the flooring that it has upstairs is nothing that has any business being on a roof, but it was the closest blue I could get, and I was very adamant on keeping the blue roof just because the picture had a blue roof. But anyways, we are getting close to the end of this video. I'll be back next week with the rest of the build. Don't you worry, you will get to see it. But do let me know down below how you think it's looking. Let me know what you'd like me to try out next. And I hope to see you in the next video. Have a great weekend!